TikTok has repeatedly chosen the path for more control, more surveillance, and more manipulation. Your platform should be banned.
We are frustrated with TikTok. We're upset with TikTok.
TikTok and its parent company ByteDance have challenged the TikTok Divestment Act, suing the U.S. federal government over claims of unconstitutionality. The U.S. Department of Justice argued that the act addresses national security concerns stemming from TikTok connections with foreign adversarial forces and is unrelated to freedom of speech. How is TikTok different from other social media platforms? What information can it collect from you? And what does it feed into your brain? For years, Washington has accused TikTok of having connections with Beijing, potentially exposing Americans' personal information to the Chinese government. Despite these concerns, Americans appear to take little notice.
When you think of all the other social media platforms, they're also collecting your data and also prone to being taken advantage of for misinformation purposes. So I feel like, I don't know if TikTok's being singled out. Maybe the government knows something I don't know, but a total ban, I probably don't agree with that.
I'm not sure what the data is being used for, but I definitely feel like there is a risk. Like, I've watched all the hearings, and I do think it should be up to individual people whether they choose to partake in that risk or not, but I think it's definitely there.
How is TikTok different from other social media platforms? TikTok can collect information about all the applications on your phone, detect your phone's location at least once in an hour, constantly read your calendar and contact information, and if you refuse to grant it permissions, it will keep requesting them until you agree.
Malcore, which is essentially a malware rating service, put out a report that basically identified TikTok as data collection practices as consistent only with that of malware. It is true that Facebook has all sorts of nefarious data collection practices, but the TikTok collection is very different. TikTok is not beholden really to any of the U.S. jurisdictional oversight. That's one of the main checks and balances that we have over American social media platforms like Facebook, like Instagram, is their fiduciary duty to inform the shareholder. When you look at TikTok, they're beholden only to the CCP.
TikTok's threat to users, a CCP official in every pocket. Technological advancements have breached traditional national borders.
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok.
As early as Trump's first presidency, he recognized that the CCP infiltration into American citizens' privacy and national security was a part of a larger scheme. It began with a small TV box that brought CCP propaganda to American households. Later, through WeChat, the CCP collects data on overseas users, enabling precise targeting and extending censorship and propaganda to much of the overseas Chinese community. While these measures primarily affected the Chinese diaspora, TikTok's rise has impacted all Americans, with up to 170 million American users, representing half of the US population. And the platform's algorithmic stickiness, TikTok wields more influence than any broadcast network. From 2020 to 2022, it was the most downloaded app in the US and globally, until it was passed by Temu in 2023. This naturally raises concerns for the US government.
I would say we do have national security concerns, at least from the FBI's end, about TikTok. They include the possibility that the Chinese government could use it to control data collection on millions of users or control the recommendation algorithm, which could be used for influence operations if they so chose, or to control software on millions of devices.
People say that one of the hardest things in the world is to put your own thoughts into someone else's head. Washington is concerned that TikTok has the ability to collect, censor, and even promote certain content to American users, potentially influencing discussions on issues such as gun control, abortion, religion, and even presidential elections.
你如果说用一个国家机器来操纵一个非常有影响力的一个电子平台， 和这个社交媒体，那么这个呢，对美国的这个言论自由，对美国的基本的这个公平原则都会有重大侵害的。因为你的目的不一样，你主要是通过这种商业竞争的这个平台来推动你的国家的政策，这国家政策是以摧毁美国的民主制度为目的的。
According to Chinese law, all organizations and individuals are required to support, assist, and cooperate with national intelligence work. This places the data of ByteDance and even TikTok entirely under the jurisdiction of the CCP.
So in terms of risks of foreign ownership, based on the fact that the national security law of the People's Republic of China gives the CCP very broad leeway in compelling companies to hand over data, and has somewhat severe punishments for not doing so, we basically said the foreign ownership by China does present a unique risk in terms of the national security risks that a platform presents.
That they have stolen more of Americans' personal and corporate data than every nation, big or small, combined. And you put that together, it highlights what a big concern this is.
Should we ban TikTok or force a sale to an American company?
Since 2020, across administrations of both Presidents Trump and Biden, attempts have been made through executive and legislative measures to ban TikTok in the United States. Finally, in April 2024, TikTok Divestment Act was passed, officially titled the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Application Act. This act stipulates that ByteDance must divest its ownership of TikTok within 217 days, unless extended by the U.S. President, with the deadline set for January 19, 2025. Faced with the bleak prospect of a ban if it does not divest, TikTok and its parent company ByteDance have vowed to use all possible legal means to oppose the TikTok Divestment Act. In early May 2024, TikTok filed a lawsuit in U.S. federal court, once again invoking the First Amendment freedom of speech as their defense. They used this same argument to overturn Trump's executive order in 2020. However, on July 26, the U.S. Department of Justice countered that TikTok is abusing the First Amendment. This regulation addresses the national security issues unique to TikTok's connections with hostile foreign entities, not any suppression of protected speech.
Because it is very clear when you read the bill that this has nothing to do with the content on TikTok and everything to do with the conduct of the parent company ByteDance in relationship to the CCP.
This is a problem because TikTok isn't just an app for funny dance videos. It is increasingly a news source for Americans under the age of 30. And allowing a CCP-controlled entity like TikTok to become the dominant media player in America would be like if in 1962, at the height of the Cold War, right before the Cuban Missile Crisis, we'd allowed Pravda and the KGB to purchase the New York Times, the Washington Post, ABC, and NBC.
We've seen evidence of the ByteDance, the Chinese company that owns TikTok, the ability to scrape data, and this could also be turned into a huge propaganda machine for the CCP. So I don't want to ban TikTok, I want it simply to be sold to a non-Chinese company owner.
Given the potential national security risks of Chinese apps, what are the vulnerabilities for users in a free and democratic society?
1947年国家安全法重新调整了美国的整个的国防、情报、经济和甚至教育系统，把它联合起来，就为了一个目的，而行动，那就是为了这个击败苏联带来的挑战。现在中共对我们的挑战，对美国的行政制度的挑战，对美国民主制度的挑战，对世界自由的挑战，比当时苏联还要厉害。
4 years ago, TikTok sued to overturn Trump's executive order, this time to truly address the threats posed by the CCP and TikTok. Yu Maochun believes that the U.S. should implement comprehensive national security legislation.
就是当时的法官也是很同情美国行政当局的这种意图，但他没有这种法律上的一个条文作为武器来认可 这个行政当局的一些行政命令。所以说呢，现在美国最需要的就是一种综合性的国家安全法，把中国的对美国的安全放在非常重要的位置上，从法律的角度来做这个东西。中共钻了很多空子，美国是一个开放社会，它可以花钱雇佣很多有名的律师来跟美国打官司。而且往往都能打赢的，这就是漏洞。
However, some believe that in a free and open society, banning TikTok is not the solution. Instead, the US government should focus on enhancing transparency of information on social media platforms.
If you think about it, the implementation of a ban, are you going to have, Americans downloading VPNs like they do in China to access a social media platform? And I hope that, platforms are required to provide a much more, clear explanation of the types of data that's gathered. Consumers deserve to know where their data is going, how it's being gathered.
A directive from China's Cyberspace Administration can force Apple to remove various encrypted messenger apps, including WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram, from the Chinese App Store. In contrast, banning TikTok in the United States remains a challenge. China is everywhere. Can we avoid it?
Rest assured, we aren't going anywhere.
Well, I got off of TikTok, I deleted it over a year ago. It just felt like I was wasting a lot of time on it, honestly, and it was just